Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the class. Today, we are going to talk about a very important marketing element, that is pricing. This is for Chapter 11 from the textbook. And today, we might have a lot to cover, so I'll try to keep control of the pace. Okay, pricing, if you've taken a marketing 101 or other marketing class, this is always important knowledge points that we have to cover. But today we are going to talk about pricing. It's not pricing per se, but pricing strategy, a lot of considerations, about a lot of routines that we have to pay attention when we move to international business or international marketing. So you will see a lot of points you might not have seen before in other marketing classes, because we take a different angle to look at the pricing decisions and the considerations if we want to do international marketing, move the product internationally across country borders. We'll talk about pricing strategy objectives. That is very common. We'll cover some terms for pricing international trade. We talk about environmental influences, pricing strategy, adaptation, standardization, talk about specific problems in pricing if we set different prices for different market segments in the global context, of course. So gray market area, we talk about dumping, we talk about price fixing, price transferring, and different types of trades. With or without the cash payment. So first of all, pricing general. Law of one price is very ideal. We want if you have a product with fixed quality, fixed design, fixed functionality to consumers, theoretically it should have the same value, monetary value across the globe, but that is not true. That's very ideal, just in theory. Every country market, it has different kinds of costs, competitions, and a competitive situation, and the regulatory environment, so make the price to be different. And consumer demand from different market will vary as well. So a lot of factors will decide that cross country to country, the price for the same product might be different. For global markets, we see a lot of products are sold globally, and it will face all these price unification, price diversification problem. But to be frank, if you've been to many places in the world, you will see price definitely change across country borders. But there are some global products, diamond, crude oil, commercial airline, integrated circuits, sold everywhere. They try to set the price, set global price, but actually it's difficult to achieve. The price fluctuates across countries. So this is the big picture. To set price, just some knowledge points probably you've seen before. There's a price floor, that the minimum price you can set, price ceiling, maximum price. But normally you should choose an optimal price just between the floor and the ceiling. Will optimize your pricing strategy. We'll talk about and satisfy market needs, of course. Now, what is a pricing floor? Pricing floor theoretically should be just the cost. If you sell something at the price lower than the cost, then it doesn't make sense. You're losing money, right? So your pricing floor, theoretically, in most of the cases, should be the cost. Price ceiling should be the price for any competing brands, competing product, your complete or ideal substitute. And if that the price, for their price, that's the price ceiling, because if it's a very much equivalent product, they set at this price level. If you go over that, people definitely will choose their product versus yours. So that just to set a kind of ceiling. It's transparent, but it's just a ceiling over there. You try to avoid go over that. Of course, the price, how do you set the price close to the floor, close reading? It's product specific, it's environment specific. It has something to do with opportunities, constraints, and when you put price across different segments, global segments, I mean, pay attention to some considerations that like internet information transparency and the mobility of the products across different regions. Because if you sell the product, definitely for different price at US and Canada, people will see it from all kinds of media sources. If they are aware of the price difference, definitely they will move the product from the place, from low price place to high price place. Okay, so that's that's a considerations that you should have when you set the price. Pricing objective, of course, very common sense. Here are some considerations. Market share, try to lower the price, occupy a certain percentage of market share, earn a certain level of profit. You have the cost, you want to set the price higher than the cost to a certain level to keep the profitability, and the profitability has something to do with return on investment. Return on investment basically is a profit, or sometimes it's a profit, sometimes it's a revenue on cost or investment. Rapid recovery of product development cost. Some products you have a huge R&D and development cost. For example, vaccination for COVID-19. Then all these pharmaceutical companies, they just want to recoup these billions of dollars for R&D quickly as possible. Why? If they don't recoup it immediately from selling the product to be very expensive after COVID-19 disappears, fades, the trend fades, nobody is going to buy vaccination for COVID-19, right? So they have no way to sell their vaccines anymore. That's why they should think about, well, price it high enough and try to recoup the cost within a very short period of time. So this is not only for COVID vaccine, but also for all kinds of pharmaceutical products with a heavy investment for their R&D. There are two kinds of pricing strategy, mainly penetration pricing, marketing, or skimming pricing. But that's very, very broad, general type of pricing strategy. Market skimming is you set the price to be high and then lower the price in the long run. This is especially good effective for high-tech products and for product with heavy investment. So when you enter into the market, you are innovative, you are leading technology, you have leading technology. So no competitors in the market. There are all kinds of conditions allowing you to set high price and charge people high, and also recoup the R&D cost for the product. So technical products, luxury products, they do it, but in the long run, there are copycats in the market. You cannot monopolize the market anymore. Your technology is is learned or copied by other people, so they are imitators, competitors in the market. You start to lower the price to face the competition directly. The other alternative is is called a penetration price. Even though you have a new product, brand new product, can be innovative, you don't set high price at the first place. You set a very low price at the first place and occupy the market immediately. This is not new, and here are some considerations, mainly competitive considerations or competition considerations. The rationale is if you have a cool product, like Sony did this for its Walkman. Walkman is old-fashioned portable media player. Before disc player, of course, before iPhone products, okay, and MP3 type of products. So when they developed this, they just set the price to be a little bit higher than the production cost. What will happen is if you set the price to be that low, if other people want to produce similar products and spend millions or billions of dollars to develop the product, and they can't set the price to be higher than Sony, right? We have the price ceiling because of competition. So when they doing a prediction for the returns for invest in R&D, develop the product and the sell in the market to compete head to head with Sony, they don't see much opportunity for return on investment. That's why Sony's low pricing strategy, penetration strategy, will block competitors from coming into the same market, so they can occupy the market, dominant market from time one and on. So their strategy is successful. They set the price to be low. After they gain a huge market share, they can lower the production cost and increase the increase the scope for margin. Another example is when Lenovo purchased when Lenovo purchased IBM, they set the price to be low. They changed IBM PCs to the name of Lenovo. Actually, it's the same machine, but they set the price to be low to compete with other computer products like Dell and so on. And their strategy is successful. So that is penetration price. Another kind of price is companion product pricing. You have products like game device, video game gadget, and video games. So video gaming cannot be played without all these games, right? You need a device, but you also have to buy additional games to play. So these two products are called companion. A lot of companies are using companion products to strategize for pricing. For example, I can always set the device price to be low, to be very competitive, invite you to purchase a device first. But then when you purchase the game to be compatible with my device, I can get profit from that. So the game, so every game will be relatively expensive for me to recoup the profit, which I don't earning much by selling the game device. Some other examples will be phone and plan. Okay, service plan from the service provider. Phone sometimes even can be free, but you have to sign up for the plan because you contribute to revenue to the plan. To contribute to the profitability for service providers, or razor and blades. If you use a razor, you definitely need blades. So the total profit is actually is coming from two parts altogether. Printer and cartridge. It's another example for that. When you set the price, you think about the other companion revenues from other companion products or from other derived purchase as well. Okay, these are general consideration for pricing. We don't go into some other things, some pricing tricks like charming price, always set the price like odd and even pricing, sometimes set the price to be at 1.99 versus $2. That's too small. That's just a trick. It's not actually the strategy. Or numerous things. Sometimes we use it, we say buy one, get one instead of saying 50% off, right? So these are some tricks instead of strategies. Strategies are relatively big. Now we talk about pricing, linking pricing to cost, because we talk about objectives. One important objective is profit. Or return on investment. So when we do pricing, we have to put cost into consideration. There is one kind of pricing called cost-based pricing. When you set the price, you always put cost into consideration. And one way to do it is called design to cost. Before you design the product, you know how much cost that can occur, you can afford. Then you just go reverse engineering to compute the cost for each process. Then you will see whether the product is feasible to develop, whether it will bring you profit or not. And sometimes it will also involve cost accounting, because cost is not just the material and the production. Think about when you operate you set the operations for the whole factory. There will be other costs like equipment. If you buy equipment, there will be amortization. So amortize the cost for equipment year by year. There will be overheads. There will be human resource costs. But all these costs are related to the final product you are made. So all these costs and expenses will be allocated to each individual product. So the real cost for each product will be material cost, production cost, all kinds of additional allocated cost and expenses. Sometimes marketing sales expense will be also allocated to each individual product as cost. Then that's the price setting that you should go. And who's doing that? What kind of rules we should follow? There's a special cost, special kind of training called the cost accounting that will cover all the methodologies or the rules or standards on how to allocate costs to each individual division and the product. So put a cost into consideration. There are two types of pricing method. One is rigid cost plus pricing. If we know the price, we know the cost. Our final price is always the 20% higher, or always $50 more than the cost. Fixed cost is you have the cost, but your price is over that. How much you are over the cost depends on a lot of factors. They are related to market, they are related to country-specific characteristics, and more importantly, they should be related to competitive situation. Okay, target costing process, it's what we call the reverse engineering. Okay, here is a procedure. On the slide, it shows the procedure, but actually it is this. The cost depends on a lot of things, okay? These are some costs for bringing the product from one place to another place. So put that into consideration when you do international marketing. What we have here is called reverse engineering, target cost pricing. So if we know in the final destination, the product, the price that is reasonable, optimal price for competition to survive in the market is $100. And we should know, okay, we should know that the total price, for example, for us to get out of the factory, okay, is $70. What's in between? What's in between? Or should it be in this way? The final price is $100 to the retailer. In that country, it is $70 if we put retailers into consideration. Then, if we sell to retailer at $70, there are a lot of costs between me and the retailer. What are they? They should be these kind of costs. Related to transportation, handling, tariff, and so on. Then to me, okay, I can only sell at $50. So adding a lot of other costs go to the retailer at $70. Retailer will add a markup for $30. That will cover their cost. That will cover their expected profitability. So if I have to sell at $50, I have to produce it by reverse engineering. So this process is reverse engineered. So if I have the final target price at $50, I have to control my cost below 50. If I have always take 25% profit, then I can only set the price to be $40, right? For a 25% rigid margin of profit for myself. So this is the whole process for doing this kind of target cost pricing. Okay. So some considerations will be like this. Export pricing escalation. A lot of costs here listed here between my selling price and importers. Importers buying price will be all these kind of costs out of between my factory and importers' warehouse occurred during the process, and any pricing inflation will affect the pricing structure. But there's a trend for export price escalating because all these kind of costs are going up all the time. Okay, here's an example. If I export product from Des Moines, Iowa to Japan, okay, Yokohama, if we don't take all these detailed numbers, we just take this percentage. So the big picture here is you have, if I have my selling price or my cost, my selling price at 100, okay, that's a price or the cost when the price I charge when the product is out of my factory. Then I have before the within this 100%, there should be production total cost for manufacturing the product, and also maybe 20% out of this 100 will be my profit. But the price I have to get is 100%. Okay, then there are big chunks of additional cost before the product eventually go to the market. Here are several big chunks of price. One is called shipping charge. Oops. So shipping charge can be break down to this, but the actual shipping charge is 6.3%, around 6%. There will be insurance. Then taking the insurance, the product will go to the destination, the hub, the port of the destination, okay, the port in Japan. So the price is going up to 106%. Then there will be tax or VAT, value added tax. There'll be loading fee. There'll be distributors charge. Then go to the dealers. Dealers are retailers in the destination. They will get the product at 127%, and then they put their markup. So the final price from retailer to consumer will be 147%. It's almost like 50% markup from the price gained out of my factory. So this is a basic pricing structure. Okay, from me to importer, here is a distributor. Distributor will set the price, will sell to dealer and then sell to consumers, and eventually consumer get the product at almost 150% of the original factory price. So to understand this kind of pricing structure is very important. It will help you to reverse engineer for your cost, okay, to manufacture the product, the target cost that you can eventually afford, and then think about whether you can make the product or not, whether you want to do the business or not. All these price cost consideration eventually will be achieved by the final price to the market. And for the final price to the market, you have to put all these elements into consideration. Whether the final product, like if I understand this is the final product to the market, whether it will reflect my product quality, whether will reflect the demand condition or market condition in the target market in Japan, in Japanese market, and whether I should take a pricing strategy or set even higher price at the beginning and a lower because I'm using skimming, or I should even go a little bit lower because I'm doing marketing penetration. Are there any rooms I can maneuver? Or should I set the price to be a little bit higher and offer a discount because this can be a kind of strategy we're using to attract customers. If there are different segments in the market, should I vary the price across different segments? And how about consumers' reaction to the product? How about the country's regulations that will put some constraint on my pricing, or will the country deem my product as selling at the price lower than the cost, dumping my product to the country, and so on. So that's on the regulatory perspective to evaluate the government and consumers' reaction to my product. So a lot of considerations for the final price to the target market. To wrap up cost marketing or cost-based pricing, rigid cost plus pricing, fixed cost plus pricing we talk about. We have a lot of factors we should think about, and also put future flexibility, fluctuation for the costings into consideration when we decide the final price, and doing reverse engineering for my affordable target cost. As I said, the cost for me to make the product, it's not just the material cost, it's not the cost in my factory, in my plants for manufacturing process, but also there are other additional costs or expenses that should be absorbed, allocated to each final product. Human resource overheads, machine amortization, marketing costs, sales expenses, and so on. Everything should be allocated to each final product. That is a real cost for each product on sale. So here listed some procedural stuff that you should go through when you export your product to a different country. I don't go into details. This is very much formality stuff, including documentation, including some activities that you should go through for a complete documentation preparation for logistical management, transportation, and the insurance coverage, and so on. Terms of sales with regard to price. Think about you are in Des Moines and your partner is in Japan. There are different ways you can hand over the product to the liability of the buyer, okay, and also charge a price differently. For example, if you want to hand over the product to the buyer at the destination, like door-to-door service, definitely you should charge higher, and you should be responsible for a lot of process in between. The main process will be shipping the product from your factory to the carrier or to the vessel if it's sea freight, and there will be some cost arrangement for shipping from US to Japan and landing to Japanese ports and the local transportation to their factory. And in the process, there will be also insurance cost. The insurance cost is based on the example is about 0.6%. If you say your sales is in millions or billions, then that's a big deal, right? So there are some basic terms, E terms and the D terms. E terms is seller place the goods at disposal of the buyer at the time specified in the contract, and the buyer will take the delivery at the premise of the seller. So basically, buyer will go to seller's designated places, seller's place, not necessarily factory, maybe in the warehouse, whatever designated place at designated time, and then they'll take over. Okay, of course they will pay, make the payment according to the contract. D term is basically a seller will be responsible for the shipping and the delivery to buyer's place. So on the in other country. So in our case, it will be in Japan. Seller very likely will deliver the product to Japan at a designated place at the designated time. Okay, and the seller will be mainly in charge of the duties, costs, transportation, and so on. So basically, there will be E term and the D term. Okay, but the detailed time, the time of delivery, and the destination of the delivery in the factory or in the warehouse, whatever, it's based on detailed specifications. There are some general terms called the F terms or C terms. that will be widely adopted in real business. I try to summarize them here. Okay, so if we look at the process, seller will get the product out from the factory, maybe onto the transportation vehicle, then go to the ship or boat, then to the target country's port, then move to buyer's premise. The D term and E term is very specific. It will be something here, you hand over, that's a D term, that's an E term. Something here, it's a D term. But if we do something here are some general terms people use in business. It's less customized like D term and E term, or something between D term and E term. The first thing is CFR. You, as a seller, you just hand over your product to the buyer out at your factory. It's called a CFR. Then if you use carrier like truck to sell to deliver to the boat, and then sea freight go to the destination, you can go further, move the product onto the carrier. Okay, carrier and buyers will take over at the carrier. It's called FCA. But if the takeover happens at the shipping, this is a ship, at the harbor, at the sailor's harbor. Okay, then two ways. If it's unloaded, it's just on the harbor before loading onto the ship, it's called FAS. If buyers will take over after the loading, because loading definitely will cost some money, it's called free on board, FOB. And in this case, sailor will pay for the shipping cost because the product is on the ship. You only pay the shipping cost, insurance, and all. Okay, if the sailor will be in charge of the previous process and also shipping the product to Japanese harbor, and also pay the insurance for this transportation. At Japanese harbor, they hand over to Japanese buyer. It's called CIF, cost, insurance, and freight. Okay, so depending on the handover place, buyers and sailors, they share different responsibility and cost for different section of the process. You have different terms. So these are the general practice in international business for pricing and for delivery, handover, and so on. All these related to logistic management. Okay, move on. Some factors we should consider for pricing and cost: currency fluctuation. Because if we sell to another country, we might use our own currency to make one currency for producing the product, and you receive another currency as revenue. So currency exchange fluctuation always is a big risk. We talked about that before when we talk about international environment. In the inflammatory environment, if there's inflation in one country, especially when you produce a product in the country you produce a product, if there's inflation, that means the cost is going higher and higher all the time, or sometimes rapidly. That will affect the cost structure. Government control, subsidiary regulations. Government can always set rules for price, and they can set countervail charges for subsidies during the manufacturing for the products. They can set regulations for price ceiling, price bottom, and so on. Competitive behavior, definitely across countries, competitive situations are different. Local competitors, their strengths are different. You have to put into consideration. Then sourcing is a big consideration in pricing. Try to cut down costs. Sometimes you do sourcing. You can source for material from countries with low cost, or you source human resource like contract manufacturing to cut down the cost. Then that will change your pricing structure. For currency fluctuation, of course, if I'm exporting, weak currency is always good. Like if I produce and sell to Japan, a weak dollar is always good because if my cost is $100, and if my currency is weak, the price reflected in Japanese yen is relatively lower, right? Then it's easy for my product to be sold in Japan. Okay, then I receive Japanese yen and I exchange to US dollar to cover my cost. My cost in US because it's calculated in US dollar. So it really doesn't affect my operations in Japan, in US, but a weak US dollar will incentivize Japanese buyers to buy my product because of low price reflected in Japanese yen. Okay, actually currencies fluctuate a lot. Look at the fluctuation of Japanese yen. It can be look at the highest is 100 US dollar can be as strong as 130 and low as 77. It's almost 80% difference. As I mentioned, if like US in the COVID-19 season, US government inject a lot of money into the financial system. So inflation is inevitable. If there's inflation, everything, the price of everything goes up. If your cost in US goes up, then you have to recoup the costs. The costs in US dollar is going up. If exchange rate doesn't change, your product's price in Japanese yen will be higher, and that will just impede your exporting to Japanese market because your product is getting more and more expensive over there. Government control subsidies, there are some dumping regulations. If your target market, they will deem that you and your government is doing subsidizing, they can charge you extra duties for doing that. If they think your product is dumping to their market, they can charge you the dumping tax or something like that. They can even sue you and or stop importing your product. More than that, there will be some non-tariff barriers set up or other requirements as you put the deposit or restrict your money to wire out and restrict your price to be sold in those prices, other than charge you an extra tariff. Competitive behavior. If in the target market, your competitors do not charge the price, even though the price, the cost is going up, your competitors competitors stays in puts. They don't change the price. You can't change the price. You can't raise your price to be over theirs because then you lose your business to the competitors, right? And if your competitors are sourcing to low-cost countries for materials or manufacturing, then probably you should consider that you want to do that as well to change your cost structure to maintain competitivity. That's why US companies are outsourcing to Asia for manufacturing, and Japanese electronics makers, they are outsourcing to Asian countries because of the manufacturing cost is low and the labor quality is okay. Sourcing, it is always it becomes a strategic pricing tool. You can cut down cost by sourcing your material, sourcing human resource or other kind of resources. Your cost is low. The leeway you can go is bigger, right? So the flexibility of your pricing is bigger. You can always set competitive price than other companies, than your competitors. Okay, talk about general pricing strategy, whether you want to do adaptation, whether you want to do standardization. Actually, it is market specific, product specific, and time specific. That is easy to understand. You do ethnocentric pricing, you just extend your standard price for all the all different countries in the world that you are going to cover. But will this make sense? Normally, in general, it won't, because country situation is different. You can't set the same price for all the markets. Even like iPhone or Apple products, they want to set the price for all the countries because they are leading product in the world. So normally, the consumers don't have negotiation power to change the price or pricing strategy for Apple, but depending on different market situation, the final price to consumers will vary. For some countries, the product will be high because of tariff, for government regulation. For some countries, the price is low because of tax, because of the local economic level, affordability, and so on. The opposite is you think about the possibility of change price for every country, cross country to country that you are going to cover. In between, it is geocentric pricing for several countries. They become a segment. Within that segment, you set the same price because the local cost might be the same, local income levels, they are same, competitive situation is the same. So you try to combine all these countries or regions to a geocentric pricing. It might be good, but cross geographic segments, you probably set a different pricing because of cross geo segments variation for the conditions. Okay. Related to segmented pricing, you charge different price for different countries or different regions. The gray market will be created because people, if there's a huge price difference from region A to region B or country to country B, people can always try to smuggle the product from low price country, low price region to high price region just to save money or even make a profit. I smuggle in and I sell high because the product in local high priced market is really dear. There's big margin that enough big for me to make a profit if I can smuggle the product from another country. That happens a lot. But even if forget about the professional smugglers, to do the business, consumers, they can always do this, even go to the specific low price region to get the products to save their own cost. In the internet business or information transparency, global logistical arrangements, operations really facilitate gray market products. For example, pharmaceutical products, drugs are very expensive in the US, but in neighboring country, Canada and Mexico, the price is relatively low. So a lot of people, they just get the same type of medicine from neighboring country instead of from US. And one specific feature for pharmaceutical market is India is a big market for pharmaceutical products for gray market because pharmaceutical companies, they sell a lot of products to India and allow India, there are lots of India pharmaceutical companies or factories, they make generic products as well. So the pharmaceutical product in India is way lower than the price in US. Sometimes it can be more than 50% off. So a lot of patients, they get the drug, same type of drug or generic copycat type of drug, generic product, the price difference can be even more significant because they are not protected by patent, by brand name. So a lot of patients, they find the source in India and get the medicine for similar or the same functionality, or even the same kind of medicine, especially sold in India. Okay, so that's gray market. Gray market will have some drawbacks, negative impact on marketing system. It's dilution of exclusivity. Why companies want to segment the market? Because they want to take advantage. They want to maximize their return on investment. According to marketing theory, different segments, they have homogeneous demand situation. You can charge price differently across different segments, right? You definitely want the same price to stay, one price to stay in the segment and not contaminate or ruin your pricing structure by allowing the product to move among all these segments. So that's exclusivity. You allow the product to be sold at a specific price exclusively for a specific price, but that rule is violated by gray market. Free riding. If you do marketing in one segment, but people smuggle the product from other places, whatever, the marketing expenses might be wasted, right? Or people smuggle the product from one place to another. Who's making the product doesn't necessarily pay for, making the profit doesn't necessarily pay for the marketing expenses. So all these smuggler people in between running the black market, they are free riding the marketing expenses by the branded company. Damage to the channel relationship. Some official channels, dealers, their business got ruined if there's a gray market. Undermine pricing scheme, that is for sure. And if a company, you cannot deal with this gray market situation, then your reputation is ruined. But the companies or business that get involved in running gray market, your reputation will be bad and you probably will be sued by the brand company. Okay, so that's gray market issue. Specifically, we specifically talk about dumping. Dumping, there is official definition for it. Dumping is to sell your product at the price that is lower than your cost. So it doesn't make any economic sense. You want to do it because you want to occupy the market in a very aggressive way. You sell in a loss at first to occupy the market, kick out all competitors, then you can do whatever you want in the long run. Pull back the price exploit the market, exploit consumers in the future. So dumping is a bad behavior. It's a bad deed. Every country is against this. Dumping is quite different from set your price to be competitive to low. There's a limit that you cannot cross the line to sell your product lower than the cost. US really hates dumping, and the US is doing a lot against the dumping. For example, China tires, for example, seafood from Southeast Asian countries and so on. But the dumping, if you do a litigation, sue the company that is doing dumping, it's difficult to, sometimes it's difficult to collect evidence, because one requirement is you have to show the evidence they sell at their at the level of lower than their cost. But how can you get the cost information, because it's a company in another country, and the cost information is proprietary, it's classified, right? So collecting evidence is difficult. Normally, if there's a case for dumping, you go to a court. It will take years for the case to be settled, to be sentenced. Price fixing. This is a kind of dirty deal when companies are doing pricing. If there are only several players in this market, for example, Intel and AMD, they are two biggest players for chips, right? Computer chips. Then they don't have to sign agreements. They can get some hidden rules, hidden agreements. You don't change the price, I don't change the price. You raise the price, I raise the price, instead of doing price competition. So fix the price at horizontal level, and they try to exploit the consumers, because other than these two companies, you have nowhere to go. And if they fix a price like this, and there are evidence and they are caught, they are against the law. There are other ways that companies can do fixed pricing. Let's say if there's a company very powerful like P&G, they tell the retailers, you have to sell my product at this price. You have to sell my price to be much lower than competitive price, so I can kick them out and so on. But if you force retailers or your suppliers to set the price at a certain level, it's illegal, because the price should follow, should reflect the market situation, and there should be free market to set the price. So that's why you see automobiles. If you go to the dealers, there will be suggested retail price set by the manufacturer, but they cannot enforce the dealer to fix a price over there, because dealers, they have their right to lower the price a little bit to be competitive, or raise their price a little bit, retail price a little bit, just to tailor the market situation, demand supply situation. That's their choice. So price fixing is illegal. Next point is called transfer pricing. This is something that normally people don't pay attention to. If you have operations in different countries, and those operations, they earn their own profit, right? But aggregate, all these profit will be your company's total profit. But if your operations are at different countries, they have different taxation rules. And there are a lot of opportunities created for companies to maneuver and manipulate, maximize their overall profit. This is an example. if you have operations at Hong Kong and at US, Hong Kong company tax or operation tax, for example, is 20%, US is 35%. And what the deals between your two operations is the manufacturing facility is run by Hong Kong company. So US is providing the raw material. You always move raw material to Hong Kong, and Hong Kong process the material and send the product back. But of course, for within your company, you should, when you get the something from the other party, you have to pay them, right? So there will be internal deals, material sold to Hong Kong and final product sold back to US. Then there are lots of things, accounting tricks you can play. Since US tax on profit on the earning is high, you always want to, if you get a certain level of earning, you always want to move earnings to low taxation places. Then when you do material sales to Hong Kong, you set the price to be low. So they get the material low, but when they process it and send the product back to US, they set the price to be high. The consequence is US division, the profit goes down, and Hong Kong division profit goes up. The total profit doesn't change because externally, your cost for material and the final product sales remains the same, right? So you just move, by doing this, you move the profit from US to Hong Kong and exposed to only 20% of taxation for your profit or for your income. Then you are better off in aggregately. You are better off, and there are some rooms you can do internal pricing, transfer pricing. This is the transaction price. In this way, it's called the transfer price. There are some rooms you can do transfer pricing, but if you cross a line, it's illegal. Okay, if you are caught, that means you are manipulating your earnings. That's illegal. Normally, transfer pricing is judged by cost base. Transfer is judged by cost of doing the economic activity. Market-based transfer pricing. There's a benchmark in the market. They do this pricing. You should follow them closely. Or if you don't have any costs that you can refer to, you don't have a benchmark in the market, the price can be negotiated. But there should be some justification for the negotiated pricing. Okay. Last thing about price is not every deal across country will be paid in cash. Not every deal will be priced and will be really settled with money. There are different options for trade. We'll talk about that. There might be pricing involved, but the way they do business, these type of businesses, transactions are quite different from we set the price, we send the product, we get cash back. So not in this way. We talk about 5 different ways to do it. The first one is barter. Barter is you just exchange with product. So basically there's no pricing in it, but when you compute the exchange rate, then probably there are some values behind it, but normally it is not priced. Second one is counter purchase. Counter purchase, there are 2 separate contracts. I purchase computer from you and you purchase cars from me, separate contract, but we don't settle with money. We settle with 2 contract with 2 opposite flow of commodity. So that's counter purchase. The other thing is called offset. Offset has its special meaning. For example, I buy a large equipment or airplane, but part of the payment, let's say I will pay 100 million, but 20% of the payment will be offset. By what offset? By I sell you, I ship you some of the commodity. Okay, so this is called offset. The other way is called counter trade. Counter trade is also normally involved in big ticket product, big ticket project. For example, I get equipment for manufacturing a certain type of industrial product, or let's say manufacturing costs. Okay, I don't have money to pay for the production line. What I would do is I get the production line from Germany, for example, and in terms of payment, I don't pay cash. German company will buy back the final product as my payment to them, a final product of automobiles as payment back to them. So this is called compensation trading. Okay, last one is switch trading. It's triangular trade, or even more than triangular. More parties get involved. It's trade and a swap arrangement. The example is if there are three countries, okay, A has abundant supply of orange, but I want to get peach. Okay, B wants orange, but has resource for apple, and C wants apple, has resource for peach. So bilaterally, okay, any peer, they want their demand and supply are different. So within any peers, there's no direct transaction that can occur to satisfy both needs. But if we put three countries all together and make trades possible among themselves, every country will sell what they are abundant in, and they will get what they want. So this is called switch trade, right? But there are multiple countries involved, and there are multiple types of commodities trade among these countries. But it's switch trading, it's triangle. If there are more than three parties get involved, it definitely it's more than triangle. It can be rectangle, it can be whatever. Then it's a trade and swap deal. Okay, these are counter trades, the different ways of trading that will counter trades. There are different ways of trade that get price involved, but the pricing is in a different form. Okay, or there might not be any pricing at all. So that's all for this chapter. A lot of contents we've covered. Hope you enjoy it, and see you next time.